absolutely evocative scene with the multi-millionaires' yachts floating on the water, the hotels and lovely houses of Monaco in the background. They go round the left, right, and that is where Berger crashed the Ferrari in the first day of practice this year, then into a right, left, then down to La Rascasse, which is one of the two first-gear corners, only about 30 miles an hour on this circuit, and that is the one that they are going. There's Piquet, there's Alain Prost, Michele Alboreto, Eddie Cheever sixth on the grid, Stefan Johansson, Gerhard Berger with the yellow flashes. That is Thierry Boutsen in the Benetton. The Brabhams have had all sorts of trouble here. There's Derek Warwick, and that is Theo Fabi, followed by Nannini and Martin Brundle, who went extremely well in the warm-up. There's Jonathan Palmer, very quick in the 3.5-litre Tyrrell. Nakajima, Alio. There's De Cesaris. That is René Arnoux, followed by Philippe Streff. And Philippe Streff, followed by Fabre, is the last but one man on the grid. Only 24 on the grid. Christian Danner non-starting and Campos non-starting. This is the crucial time of the Monaco Grand Prix. The first corner. Watch the lights in the top left corner of your screen. Red, and then less than 7 seconds later, the green will go. The Monaco Grand Prix for 78 laps will be on. And Mansell takes the lead, followed by Senna, Piquet, Prost and Alboreto. And Mansell and Senna and Piquet and the Ferrari and then Prost are through Sandoval safely. Thank heaven for that. It looks as though the rest of them are too. And that is a blessing, because all too often in the past, as I said, no, that is Philippe Alliot who has spun, the man who was so quick, and Nakajima is in trouble, but it is Mansell as he goes out of Casino Square, down to Lowe's hairpin. Nigel Mansell, who has dominated practice, and that is Nakajima, the Japanese driver in the Lotus, with the camera on his car. And so often we have problems with the camera, but there is Mansell leading on lap 1 into the tunnel, followed by Ayrton Senna. This is up into 6th gear here. Then they come into the sunlight, down to the chicane for the first time. And Mansell is doing as he did in Belgium, building up a handy lead with Piquet 3rd, Alboreto is 4th, Prost has gone down to 5th, Eddie Cheever is still 6th, Johansson is in 7th place. And Nigel Mansell in the very powerful Williams Honda with its fuel-efficient engine leads round the swimming pool.
Well, Alboreto is really charging. He's already passed Prost. He's having a look for a way around Piquet. Tremendous start by Mansell.
Mansell through to complete a lap. Then Senna, Piquet, Alboreto 4th, Prost 5th, Cheever 6th, Johansson 7th, and Boutsen going extremely well in 8th position. Round the right-hander at Sandoval, up the hill. And Mansell, who is seemingly in a class of his own these days, look at the lead he's built up on the 2nd lap. He seems to be anxious to prove that he is the man, and who can blame him? I say, remember that Mansell was the man who has put up 3 pole positions this year already. He's been on the front row of the grid every race this year. 7 pole positions in his career, into the tunnel for the 2nd time. Fuel is not so much of a problem at Monaco as it is at many of the Grand Prix this year, because it's a comparatively short race in terms of distance, about 160 miles, although it can run the full 2 hours. 2 laps. Coming up, round the left-hander, out of the chicane, down towards the swimming pool again, and you can see for yourselves now the gap. That's Ayrton Senna in the active ride suspension Lotus Honda. And he goes down towards La Rascasse, back into 1st gear, and in the pits already René Arnoux, and out of them in the grossly overweight Ligier. They're working on that before Detroit for the French Grand Prix. But Mansell goes through into Saint-Devant now. 2 laps completed. The Englishman starting to build up a handy lead, which in terms of time is now 2.6 seconds. Piquet, Alboreto, well within sight of the Brazilians Williams Honda. This is Casino Square. The famous Café de Paris on the right, which is being pulled down. You can see the hoardings on the left of your picture. There's Piquet with Alboreto closing and pulling away a bit from Alain Prost. And I suspect that already Alain Prost, that you see coming down to Lowe's hairpin now, is doing his usual watching brief, although he's got Eddie Cheever right behind him.
Yes, it's a very long race. There is no point in rushing in the early stages. Nigel Mansell really building up a very good lead.
And Nelson Piquet, I notice, is starting to close a bit on Ayrton Senna. The gap between Mansell and Senna now is still 2.6 seconds. There is Alain Prost, and Eddie Cheever is swarming over Alain Prost's gearbox now, metaphorically speaking, with Gerhard Berger right behind him. And the two Ferraris have had a lot of work done on them. They have a new suspension set up here. They have a new under tray to help the aerodynamics. And they're going well, despite the fact that Berger had a big crash in practice. So there is Prost through, Cheever through, and Alain Prost goes up the hill. And the race order now on this, the fourth lap, Nigel Mansell leading, Ayrton Senna in second position, Nelson Piquet is third, Michele Alboreto is fourth, Prost there is fifth, Eddie Cheever is in sixth place, in seventh position is Berger, and Boutsenweller. Those headers. And I remind you that in the Monaco Grand Prix, the thing to do above everything else is to keep your car in one piece. The sparks are being struck there because the cars have a pretty heavy fuel load on at the moment. The titanium skid plates underneath the car are hitting that bump through the tunnel and also into Casino Square, where there are deep grooves in the road, I noticed last night when I was walking around the circuit. And here is Prost, Cheever, Berger, and ahead of them Nigel Mansell, Ayrton Senna, Nelson Piquet in third position, Michele Alboreto in fourth, and there is Prost fifth, the man who's won for the past 3 years, and the man who has been condemnatory, to say the least of it, number one, Alain Prost, about the fact that originally 26 people were going to be allowed to start here at Monaco. That's Piquet, there's Alboreto, here is Prost, and they go up the hill there at some 165 miles an hour. Round the Hotel de Paris corner, that's the gap. Now Mansell has really pulled out the lead. Nearly 3 seconds as he rounds Lowe's hairpin, goes down towards the Portier. This is the Portier, underneath the elevated roadway, through the tunnel. Those are very bright arc lamps that they have there to give the drivers some view as they go through, and then they burst into the sunlight, down to the chicane again, left, right, very much slower than it used to be. And the lap record here is held by Michele Alboreto from 1985 at a speed of 89.6 miles an hour. Mansell's the fastest so far, 131.2. So he's well below the lap record, but he's obviously got no need to hurry the way he's going at the present moment. So, Mansell leading. And then it's Senna, Piquet, Alboreto, Prost. Derek Warwick is in 9th position. Jonathan Palmer, an excellent 15th with the 3.5-litre Tyrrell. Martin Brundle in the Zach Speed is in 17th position. And here's the race leader. Now, at this early stage of the race, it is beginning to look as though Nigel Mansell's main problem will be to keep going reliably, watch his boost. He will be able to turn it down a bit, even in the early stage of the race, to make the engine as fuel efficient as possible. and he's already coming within sight of somebody that he's going to lap as he goes down towards the 48. There is Senna. You just saw Piquet behind him, so the two Williams Honda cars are first and third, and Honda engine leading cars are first, second and third, because Senna has got the same type of V6 turbo engine as the two Williams cars. Mansell.
Mansell looks very, very assured at the moment. He's quite clearly driving well within himself, trying to build up a lead without particularly pushing it, without trying to get away. He knows it's a very long race. 2 hours, there's no room for mistakes in Monte Carlo. One wheel off and it's all over.
Mansell coming through to complete his 6th lap out of 78, and Boutsen out already. Oh dear, Thierry Boutsen out of the Monaco Grand Prix on lap 7 in the Benetton. I don't know what the trouble is. They've had a lot of problems in practice with the lag of the turbo in their Ford engine, and they're having a new design, new type of engine in the Detroit Grand Prix, which they hope will overcome their problems, but bitter luck for Boutsen, particularly as he went so well in the warm-up today, third party. Now Mansell is closing up on, it looks to me like Ghinzani. It is Ghinzani in the Ligier. Is the Italian going to let Nigel through, or will this give Ayrton Senna? Yes, he is. No problem there. And Mansell thanks him by covering him with a shower of sparks as he goes through the tunnel, and he is now on lap 7, which is getting up towards 1/10 of race distance, looking as though he has absolutely no trouble at all. 1 minute 29.06 compares with Michele Alboreto's lap record of 1 minute 22.8, and now Senna closes up on Ghinzani to lap him. Race order, lap 7, Mansell leading, Senna second. Piquet, who does not like it here at Monaco, the circuit I mean, although he lives here, is in 3rd position. Michele Alboreto in the Ferrari is still in 4th place, ahead of Alain Prost with his usual watching brief. In 5th position, Alain relying on people in front of him striking some sort of trouble. And in 6th place, it's still Eddie Cheever. There's Mansell. And you can see that Mansell, who improves almost race by race, has now got a commanding lead. 5 seconds is an excellent cushion. And it's interesting to see that Stefan Johansson, the teammate of world champion Alain Prost, is down in 12th position, having a scrap with, of all people, Alex Cappy in the Osella. I say of all people because Alex Cappy, who is proving to be an excellent driver, has really got a problem in motoring the now old-fashioned V8 engined Alfa-powered car around this circuit. It's very tricky indeed. And here's Mansell. Lap 9. Look at the crowd in the background. They are appreciating a superlatively good Grand Prix demonstration by 32-year-old Nigel Mansell from Port Erin. This is his 94th Grand Prix. Having driven for Lotus for 4 years, there is the Lotus of Ayrton Senna, the cool Brazilian. And there's some adjustments made to the active ride suspension by Peter Wright and his colleagues after practice yesterday, which certainly resulted in a very significant improvement in the performance of this Ayrton Senna number 12's Lotus Honda, because, as I said earlier on, he was nearly a second faster than Mansell in the warm-up. Not that that seems to have mattered in the least to Mansell, who's fairly pulling away from him now. And we are on lap 9. Senna, that you're looking at, rounding Lowe's hairpin, created a sensation in 1984 in the Tolman when he finished second and actually passed the winner, Prost, on the line as the race was stopped short of its full distance because of the weather. And he's done nothing but go forward since. Ayrton Senna into and out of the tunnel. Mansell leads. Senna second. Piquet third. Alboreto fourth. Prost still 5th, Cheever still 6th, and this is lap 9.
And a little bit of a queue is developing behind Michele Alboreto. It's going to be very hard work for them to find a way around it. Now you see Alboreto just coming to the swimming pool complex, Prost behind him. Cheever's tremendous performance in the arrows. They've got their car together this year, got a really good car. Berger. Ferrari had a lot of trouble in practice, apart from the damage to both cars on Thursday. And Prost is starting to look for a way around Alboreto now.
Alboreto, who is in 4th place in the Ferrari, and this is where he had his accident with Dana, and as James says, Prost is easing away from Cheever, who is in 6th position, closing up on the rear wing of the Ferrari of Michele Alboreto. That's Cheever in the Arrows Megatron, and Arrows are in 6th position in the world in the Constructors' Championship. Now you can see the pressure. Johansson is in trouble. Stefan Johansson, who was in 12th position, has lost 4 places. It looks as though one of the McLarens, that of Stefan Johansson, is dropping back. But meantime, Alain Prost, and you see him now coming out of the tunnel. That's Cheever, who is 6th. There's Prost, 5th. Ahead of him, Alboreto, 4th. Mansell out on his own, chased by Senna, who is now nearly 6 seconds behind the leader. Nelson Piquet is some 11 seconds behind, and there is Philippe Streff's car out of the race, one of the 2 Tyrrels. So Thierry Boutsen is out, Philippe Streff is out on lap 10 in the 78 lap race, and you can see that the right front wheel is missing.
Yes, and Streff looks as if he's trapped in the car. Looks like he's had quite a heavy accident.
This, regrettably, is Philippe Streff's 2nd accident in 2 Grand Prix. And Massenet, for those of you who don't know the circuit, is the very fast left-hander round the Hotel de Paris, leading into Casino Square at the end of the hill. And this is awful for the marshals, because they have the problem not only of getting poor Philippe Streff out of the car, but of making sure they don't stray into the road too much, because that's where the cars are going past them, and mighty quick. Indeed, it's about a 100-mile-an-hour bend. There is Martin Brundle going round. The steering wheel off, and we rejoin the race. This is lap 11, with Mansell now 7 seconds ahead.
Prost is starting to get a little bit anxious now about getting past Alboreto. We've already said it's no easy matter overtaking here, but the leaders are getting away. Mansell, Senna and Piquet are starting to build up a gap, and Prost has got to make a move too.
Indeed he has, because the gap between Prost and Alboreto, which is vestigial, is 4 seconds between them and Piquet, who is in 3rd position, and then Piquet is some 13 seconds behind the 2nd place man, Senna. There they go up the hill, past the stricken Streff's car. Now down the hill, past the rebuilt but not yet reopened Hotel Metropole into Mirabeau Corner. That is where Patrick Tambay had his colossal accident with Martin Brundle last year. And indeed, Michele Alboreto in 4th place in the Ferrari. Better but not good enough. There the yellow flags are waving as Nannini goes through in the only Minardi in the race, and he is in 12th position. And I'm beginning to wonder if they are going to be able to keep the race going.
Yes, I feel with so much work now, as a matter of safety, they really should stop the race. Give the masters a chance to work on the car properly.
Well, Streff out of the car. That's a blessing anyway. And I noticed the crane, which is strategically placed there, is all ready to haul the Tyrrell away. And Streff, who is inclined to get uptight before a race, will now, in following races, particularly with the pressure from his English teammate Jonathan Palmer on him, be a worried man in future, I fear. You can see the rope there dangling from Saint-Devote. That's for the same reason as the crane at the corner that they're at now. And they are Alboreto. There he is, number 27, the Italian, who has 5 Grand Prix victories behind him. And Alboreto and Prost, who are 4th and 5th, are easing away a bit as they come down to lows. From Eddie Cheever, 6th, there he is. Berger, 7th in the red Ferrari. In 8th position, Derek Warwick. So both the arrows are going extremely well. Mansell leading. Warwick in the arrows is in 8th place. Jonathan Palmer is 13th and leading the 3.5 litre class. And Martin Brundle is 16th in the Zaxby. And we are on lap 13. There's Fabre, about to be lapped by the battle for 4th between Alboreto. Now, is Fabre going to get in the way? He's been warned. He isn't. He's warned in Belgium for not using his mirrors, and he's shot sideways as though he was attached to the armco by a rubber band.
Yes, that's right. He did exactly the right thing, got well out of the way as he was being lapped, but that would be a little bit of a disappointment to Prost, because the chance of being held up by a back mask gives him a little opportunity. Now, Prost is really beginning to look for a way around Alboreto. I suspect if he's going to make a move, he'll make it down to the Mirabeau corner as they come up to the Casino Square. Remember, an overtaking manoeuvre here requires quite a lot of planning. He's not close enough this time.
While you watch that, let me tell you that most of the cars in the race, with the exception of the 3.5 litre ones, and possibly Eddie Cheever in the arrows, and you see him coming down towards lows now, will have to make a tyre change. They will have to come into the over-congested pit lane here at Monaco. In practice this morning, the practice tyre changes, some of them were doing it in just a whisker over 5 seconds. Quite incredible. They won't be as quick as that during the race, but it could change the order. Nigel Mansell, however, is now 7.5 seconds ahead of AYRTON Senna. He is on lap 14. Piquet is in 3rd position, 13 seconds behind Senna. You watch the battle for 4th and 5th between Alboreto and Prost, with Alboreto holding it. And the Ferraris are certainly making a small amount of progress race by race. They weren't helped here at Monaco when Alboreto had his practice crash with Dana and Berger drove into the Armco of the swimming pool, and both cars were virtually destroyed. Alboreto's was, and they had to bring the spare car from the Paul Ricard circuit, and now Prost is right up with 4th place man Alboreto. He won't get through there. Up the hill. Now that is Nakajima in front of them. Satoru Nakajima, the Japanese driver, 1 lap behind already in 19th place. This is his first drive at Monaco, and what a place to learn to control 850 horsepower.
Once again, he'll be hoping that Nakajima doesn't get out of the way, that it isn't helpful. It could just give him the little opening he needs. Prost all over the back of the Ferrari gearbox. Just how difficult it is to find an opening here.
Will he find it as they come out of the tunnel and down to the chicane? I very much doubt it. Nakajima, I remind you, he's been lapped. He's way down, 19th position. Alboreto trying to go through as they come up to the Tabac turn. This is Nakajima. You are riding with Satoru Nakajima in the Lotus Honda now. Behind him, and he waves his hand to the right to say, pass me to the right, and Alboreto and Prost need no second invitation. Zap, they are through, and that has given Prost his opportunity. Now he might just get through as they come up to Saint-Devote. This is one of the few places they can get through, and Alboreto knows that, of course. He's a master of passing there himself, and he holds the Frenchman off, and as they go up the hill on lap 16 out of 78, there's Eddie Cheever. That's Alboreto fourth, Prost fifth, Mansell leads, Senna second, Piquet third, Cheever is in sixth position.
And Prost's problem is that he seems to lose a little bit of ground through Saint de Vos and going up the hill, so he's not quite close enough through Casino Square to get a shot at Alboreto down to the Mirabeau.
These two, of course, are old adversaries here at Monaco. In the damp conditions of 1985, they were at it hammer and tongs as they are now, and in the end, Alain Prost wore the Italian down and got through. Prost flips the curve there, and look at Eddie Cheever. Eddie Cheever in the background, and Berger, they're 6th and 7th, are catching Alboreto in 4th position, and Prost in 5th place is Alboreto 4th, Prost 5th, Cheever 6th, and Berger 7th, up to La Rascasse.
Yes, and meanwhile, the leaders, Mansell and Senna, getting further and further away. Frustration time for Alain Prost. Mansell is some 10 seconds in front of Senna, who's some 8 seconds in front of Piquet.
And Nigel Mansell, of whom we have not seen very much, was fastest in 3 of the 5 practice sessions, including this morning's practice session, that is, making up 5. Senna was fastest this morning, and Mansell was fastest in 3 of the 4 others. He has dominated practice here, as he dominated it in Belgium, and the positions of the British drivers at the present moment are that, of course, Nigel Mansell is in the lead. Derek Warwick is in 8th position in the Arrows. Jonathan Palmer is up into 13th because he has passed Stefan Johansson's McLaren, and Martin Brundle is 16th in the Zakspeed. Through the tunnel, down to the chicane. That is a first gear turn, the left-hander. Out of it in 3rd gear. Prost is not really making up any time and distance on Alboreto, but if anything, Cheever is starting to get... Now, the figures at the bottom there, 16 tours, number 5, Mansell leads, number 12, Senna second, number 6, Piquet third, number 27, Alboreto fourth, and number 1, there he is, Alain Prost in 5th place. Lap 18, 60 laps to go, including the one they're on. A lot can still happen, and probably will. Saint de Vos. Meantime, Nigel Mansell has now increased his lead over Ayrton Senna. The Williams leads the Lotus by 10 clear seconds, with Piquet 19 seconds behind Senna. Then with Alboreto, Prost, Cheever and Berger virtually together, you look across the harbour. See the big towering red crane ready to pluck a car away from the chicane if it goes off there, and this is the leader, Nigel Mansell.
Mansell really looks very smooth indeed. He's always liked street circuits, always done well at Monte Carlo, and he really looks very happy in his work. He's steadily building up the lead. He's not appearing to have to push. His biggest concern at the moment will be the timing of his power stops.
Mansell, of course, who won at San Marino, lost to Prost in Brazil and Belgium, led the World Championship for a while and is now down in 3rd place, 8 points behind Alain Prost, who at the moment is 5th here at Monaco. And the race order now on lap 19, as you watch Mansell go into the tunnel in the lead, is Mansell leading, Senna second, Piquet third, the 2 Williams Hondas then 1st and 3rd. Michele Alboreto in 4th position, still holding off Alain Prost 5th. Cheever 6th, right behind Prost, and Berger 7th, right behind Cheever. Derek Warwick is in 8th position, but Tracy is 9th. Barbie is 10th. Alec Caffey is in a superb 11th place, and 12th is Alessandro Nannini, the Italian who has just won the revived Mia Emilia race in Italy. Stefan Johansson has got back past Jonathan Palmer, 13th Johansson, 14th Palmer. Brundle is languishing in 16th place. And out of the race have gone Thierry Boutsen and Philippe Streff. Boutsen perfectly okay, and as far as we know, Streff is, as Mansell completes another lap. And again, Johansson has started slipping back. I don't know what his problem is, and I can only guess. I know he was running in a new gearbox this morning, but the erratic travel of the McLaren is a bit of a puzzle at the present moment. There's nothing erratic about Nigel Mansell. He is very much in a winning groove. Notice the way he's keeping away from the curbs. That's an indication of the fact that he's driving well within his personal limits as he goes into the tunnel again on his 20th lap, leading now by nearly 11 seconds. The man, he won in, this is just about a quarter distance, he won in San Marino, he was 6th in Brazil, he didn't finish in Belgium, of course. If he gets 9 points in this race, although there is still a long, long way to go, it will give him 19. And that's the man in second. I have just been given a message. We didn't see it, nor did you. Stefan Johansson's problem was that he spun at the Portier, which is the right-hander before the tunnel. There's Arnoux, and that's obviously why he lost his time. Arnoux in the Ligier, grossly overweight. There's a new car being built now. Michel Tétu, the French designer, has disappeared from Monaco and is not going to be seen again until the French Grand Prix, when he reappears with a new Ligier for his two drivers, Arnoux and Ghinzani, to drive. Furious blue flags, and Arnoux runs wide, lets Mansell through. And that's Johansson in the red-white McLaren that Nigel Mansell is about to lap, and Johansson is in second place in the World Championship. So there's a bit of irony. Into the tunnel, 160 miles an hour now, building up speed. It comes out of it at 175 now. Brakes hard. From 6th gear down to 1st. There's Philippe Fabre. He's already been lapped. He's in 19th position. He's about to be lapped a second time, and has been. The comparatively inexperienced Frenchman in the French-built AGS. Mansell now up to Ghinzani, who is 20th, who moves over up to the Rascasse. Mansell goes through his majestic progress. There's no other way to describe it. And comes through to complete lap 21 shortly, closing up on Stefan Johansson, who is 17th. Race order, lap 22, Mansell leads, Senna second, Piquet third, Alboreto fourth, Prost fifth, Shiva sixth, Berger seventh, Warwick eighth, round Massenet, into Casino Square, down towards the Mirabeau corner. Stefan Johansson in the McLaren with its tag engine sees the Williams Honda of Nigel Mansell, the leader, large in his mirrors, moves over and lets him through.
Yes, what will be interesting will be to see just how well Johansson can keep up with Mansell. That is a pointer to Prost's form, who of course is still struggling along behind Alboreto. They're dropping ground a lot. Mansell's keeping his lead around about 10 seconds. He certainly looks very comfortable. He's not using all the road, as you see. He's driving well within himself. There's Senna, and Senna, of course, you see, just bounces off the curb a little bit, and again, Senna is obviously giving it 110%, trying to keep in touch.
And Mansell now, with the vortices coming visibly off his rear wing, is closing up on Andre de Cesaris. There he is, number 8 in the Brabham BMW. De Cesaris is in 16th place. Mansell has already lapped Johansson, Nakajima, Ginzani, who's 2 laps behind him in 19th place, and Fabre, who is 2 laps behind him in 20th position. And he's coming up to take Andre de Cesaris. The Brabhams haven't been going nearly as well here in Monaco as they went in Belgium and San Marino. And this morning in the warm-up, they were afflicted by some peculiar electronic problem, as a result of which they could only get 3-bar boost, which means to say that they were a lot of horsepower short, and my goodness, it showed in the times. Nannini, by the way, who I mentioned earlier on as going extremely well, is no longer going at all. He has stopped at Casino in 12th position, having broken 3 drive shafts this morning in 2 separate cars in the half-hour warm-up. And that means to say that Jonathan Palmer in the Tyrrell 3.5-litre car, and he's leading that class comfortably from Philippe Alliot, who was a lot faster than him in practice this morning and is not showing on our lap charts at the moment, Alliot. Now Mansell is right with Andre de Cesaris' Brabham, which is now 15th. Mansell goes through, and of course that's where you need 100% cooperation from the driver that you are catching and passing, because as James has said, there is a very narrow line here, and if you don't get cooperation, you don't get past.
That's absolutely right. And in fact, the drivers that have been lapped so far have been extremely cooperative and looking in their mirrors. So Mansell on his way, but Senna is starting to catch him. We just saw, we had a look at Senna about a lap ago. We could see that he was driving very much on the limit, bouncing it off the curbs, and his efforts look to be starting to pay off.
Those figures on the right, incidentally, show that Senna is 8 seconds behind Mansell, and Piquet is 18 seconds behind Senna, and Alboreto is 28 seconds behind Piquet, but is only just in front of Alain Prost, who is mounting another attack on the Ferrari as you watch Nigel Mansell coming through to complete his 24th lap out of 78, clear of the Armco, round La Rascasse, the restaurant. And now up to complete the lap and into Saint-Devant. That's 24 laps completed. And it's 1/3 race distance. Now, this is the 4th place battle behind Mansell, Senna and Piquet. And as you see, Prost is mounting another attack. He's taking a deep breath and he's having a go at the Ferrari.
Yes, same old problem. Over 20 laps now, he's been stuck behind Alboreto. Alboreto, very much aware of that. His tactics will be surely to not rush, make sure he makes no mistakes, and let Prost try and find a way around. That is really a big problem at Monte Carlo. Prost, with all his skills and experience, just simply cannot find a way around the Ferrari.
Well, he will continue to try, the little Frenchman. He's far more intent on finishing at Monaco than winning, although so often in the past, just by finishing, he has won the last 3 years. And he knows as well as anybody that this is a race of attrition. You can see the little radio mast sticking up in front of him, slightly to the left of his small windscreen, through which he can converse with the pits, and interestingly, in Belgium, needed to, because his electronic fuel counter went down, and in the lead he very coolly called the pits and asked them to find out how the fuel consumption of Stefan Johansson's McLaren was going. He was second behind Prost and going at about the same speed. They checked with Johansson and then told Prost everything's all right, and Prost motored on and won the race. So there is cooperation and advanced technology for you. Round the right-hander, and La Rascasse in 4th position. the V6 Scarlet Ferrari, and there are thousands and thousands of Ferrari supporters here at Monaco, just very close to the Italian border. Raise a cheer every time Alboreto goes past, particularly when he hasn't been caught by Prost, whom they don't like one little bit. Eddie Cheever, you see coming up in the background, is very close indeed. He's only 2 seconds behind Prost there. So down to the Mirabeau. Alboreto, Prost, Cheever and Berger.
Yes, Berger's starting to put the pressure on Cheever, but once again he's faced with this problem that there really is nowhere to overtake. Unless you can harass the driver in front of you into a mistake, the other problem, of course, that Prost has is that when you're following another car very closely, it's much more physically demanding, it's more mentally demanding, there's much more pressure and concentration required, and you can't keep this up for a whole Grand Prix. So Prost, I think now is taking a little breather. He's sitting back a bit. He's close enough to be able to pounce on any sort of mistake from Alboreto. He's not actually mounting an attack.
One of the astounding things about this Monaco Grand Prix to me already is how incredibly reliable the leaders have been. Mike Doodson's lap chart alongside me has not altered since lap 7, with Mansell in the lead, with Senna second, Piquet third. There is Mansell, who has now lapped Capelli, who is in 13th place, second in the 3.5 litre race behind Jonathan Palmer, who is 12th. Piquet still third, Alboreto ahead of Prost still, 4th and 5th, 6th Cheever, 7th Berger, 8th Warwick, 9th Patrese, 10th Farby, 11th Cappy, and there is the Leighton House March with its distinctive blue-green colour livery behind the white, red, yellow and blue of the Williams Honda race leader Nigel Mansell. Dustin Hoffman, they call even Ivan Capelli. There he is in the background. He's been lapped. Mansell coming through again. And it's Frank Williams himself who, from his wheelchair, through the radio, will be in touch with Nigel. Frank has a special control strapped to his left thigh, which he can punch to activate the radio and talk as necessary to Nigel Mansell. I don't imagine there will be an enormous amount of conversation going on between them, because Mansell is driving superlatively well. He's still the fastest, 1 minute 28.049, 5 seconds, almost exactly, off his pole time, and some 6 seconds outside the lap record of Michele Alboreto, as the Englishman comes down to the portiere on lap 28. And we should soon be having the excitement and the drama of the pit stops. Lap 78 is the full distance, and they will be coming in before half distance, which in round figures is what, lap 38, 39. So it's not going to be very long before some of the early people come in. And I wonder if the fact that the 3.5 litre cars, notably that of Jonathan Palmer, who is in 12th position, are not going to be making a car stop, will make a very big difference to their positions. I think for a complete stop, allowing for slowing down, changing the tyres and getting away, you need to allow some 30 seconds, although Mansell and all the other turbo cars that change their tyres will have preheated tyres ready to go on. The electric blankets are already round them in their pit areas, getting them up to race temperatures so that they can slap the new tyres on, which, as I said earlier, is done these days in something less than 8 seconds, and race away at full racing speed immediately, or almost immediately. Mansell round the right-hand at the Mirabeau, down to Lowe's, the most famous shot probably in Grand Prix photography. And all the time, the astounding Alex Caffey, the little ex-Formula 3 Italian, who only had his first Grand Prix race in Italy last year and is therefore only in his 5th Grand Prix now and is in 11th place, is being caught by Palmer. Cathy in 11th place in the turbocharged Acela, being caught by the leading 3.5 litre car of Englishman Dr. Jonathan Palmer. That's Senna second. And it's going to be very, very important to both Mansell and Senna that their pit crews, when they change tires, waste the minimum of time. Senna is 10.2 seconds behind Mansell, 14 seconds ahead of Piquet, who is 12 seconds ahead of Alboreto, who is 2 seconds now ahead of Prost, so Prost is dropping back a bit. Cheever is 3 seconds behind Prost, but only 1 second ahead of Berger, who is only 1 second ahead of Derek Warwick. So great scrap going on for 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th places, with Riccardo Patrese 9th, Barbie 10th, Cathy 11th, Jonathan Palmer 12th, and Capelli is holding on to Mansell extremely well. Capelli in the 3.5 litre march.
I think Mansell may be in a little bit of trouble. I can't see what's wrong, but he seems to have slowed right down, and Senna is catching him, and Mansell is in trouble. So Mansell in some sort of trouble. Senna, you saw just going through the tunnel then, closing up, about to take the lead.
Lap 30, and Nigel Mansell is about to lose the lead to Senna. Senna goes through, and the Brazilian in the Lotus Honda moves into the lead at the Monaco Grand Prix on lap 30. What has gone wrong with Nigel Mansell? We can expect to see him come out of the swimming pool, into the Rascasse, and then into the pits. So the thing that Ayrton Senna has no doubt been praying for inside his cockpit has happened. Something has gone wrong with Nigel Mansell's Williams Honda. Indeed, he comes into the pits, and Senna has gone through in the lead. There are the Williams mechanics ready to receive him. Is it going to be more than a tyre change? Mansell looks up and shouts something at his race engineer. He's already lost first place. And this is a very slow pit stop. It's more than tyres, no doubt at all about that. Nigel Mansell, having led from the lights turning to green until lap 29, looks as though he may be out of the Monaco Grand Prix. What tragic luck.
Yes, whatever it is, it looks pretty serious. They got the engine cover off. Mansell has really already been there much too long to remain in contention, and he's getting out of the car, so it's all over for Nigel Mansell. A great shame, a very assured drive. He drove well within himself and was controlling the race very nicely from the front, and his cars let him down.
And everybody's heart must go out to Nigel Mansell, who had driven superbly. He had built and maintained a cushion between himself and the race leader, now Ayrton Senna, was controlling the race from the front, and it looks like an engine problem. Senna now leads, and in second position behind the Brazilian is his countryman, Nelson Piquet. Senna gets the lead, the signal, and the active suspension. Lotus, this is very significant, now leads the Grand Prix, as Senna has led Grand Prix this year in the past. Another bit of excitement is that Jonathan Palmer is right up with Cathy, who is now in 10th position, because now on lap 31, it is Ayrton Senna that you look at rounding Mirabeau Corner in the Lotus Honda, and he is leading Nelson Piquet by 16.16 seconds. Michele Alboreto is up to third, and he is 12 seconds behind Piquet, but he is only 1 second now ahead of Prost, who is fourth. Eddie Cheever is 7 seconds behind Prost in fifth place, and 3 seconds ahead of Derek Warwick, who is sixth now. Berger in the second Ferrari is in 7th place. Riccardo Patrese is 8th. Barbie is 9th. Cathy is 10th. Jonathan Palmer, leading the 3.5 litre class, is in 11th place. And Martin Brundle is 14th. There's Palmer. Palmer has now been caught by Ayrton Senna. Senna is about to lap the 11th place man, Jonathan Palmer, who is slowing him up as they come out of the swimming pool area. but Senna, with a 16-second lead, has got a very comfortable gap between himself and Nelson Piquet on lap 32 in this 78-lap race. And he should pull out and blast past the 3.5-litre TYRREL, and he does so. Ayrton Senna, the incredible Brazilian. Now, that's Cathy in front of him. Get a good look at Alex Cathy, because he deserves everybody's plaudits and congratulations. The little Italian now in 10th place in the venerable Osella has driven superbly and is driving superbly. That's Stefan Johansson leaving the pit.
And meanwhile, Prost still pushing with Alboreto, can't find a way around. Senna pulling away, he has some 17.5 seconds on Nelson Piquet. Got a further 12 seconds behind, 12 seconds ahead of Alboreto. So the field is really spreading out.
And as Senna takes Cathy, who has got Jonathan Palmer right behind him, Cathy 10th, Palmer 11th. So Senna, that you are looking at, the race leader, has lapped everybody, therefore up to 9th place, and that's Theo Fabi. There he is, a very distinctive colour scheme. Number 12, Ayrton Senna. And meantime, Derek Warwick is in the points in the Arrows Megatron, the gritty Englishman. Derek Warwick is in 6th position now. He's got ahead of Gerhard Berger's Ferrari, unseen by you, as Senna goes up the hill to the Hotel de Paris. And there is Berger, there is Alboreto, I apologize, with Prost mounting another attack. And this again is the point where Prost, if he lines up properly, could get through at Sainte Devote.
Yes, Prost's problem as we saw earlier, and I think he's looking around both sides, but Alboreto's making himself fairly wide, which is entirely his own right. And Prost, we saw earlier, seemed to be a little bit slower than Michele through Sainte Devote. Couldn't be quite close enough through Casino Square, which is really where you'd like to mount the attack down to Mirabeau Corner. He took a bit of a rest for a while, which is what you have to do. It's too physically demanding to keep attacking throughout the race. Taking his rest, but he's definitely getting very aggressive about it now.
And these two are 11 seconds behind Piquet, and the race order on lap 34 out of 78 is